Here are my top 7 ways to target thoracic spine mobility. So, all 7 of these moves are really potent ways to target this region of the body, the thoracic spine or the upper mid back region, or like the rib cage spine. So, let's dive in. Let's look at my first favorite way to target thoracic spine mobility. And this is a variation of a reclined spinal twist. So, in a normal reclined twist, we might lie back, draw a knee in, cross over, and we're here. And this is great. But for today's thoracic spine mobility move, what we'll do is take a yoga block and we will place our knee on the block. We use the bottom hand and then we can press down and anchor this leg. So this is like a leg anchored reclined twist. And then we'll add dynamic movement, hand behind head. And we can rotate, so rotating through the thoracic spine region, rotating like toward in the direction of the left knee. And then we rotate in the opposite direction as this leg gets to stay nice and anchored. And then it's basically like a thread the needle action in a reclined spinal twist. So I really love this variation. Lower body stays anchored and we get to mobilize dynamically the upper and mid back in a way that we really just like very rarely see in like a reclined twist, which is, usually static, something like this. So that is my first favorite thoracic spine mobility move. Now, my second is something called the windmill. And I like to do this from a low lunge base position. So here we are in low lunge. I've got my left leg forward, so it'll be my right hand. My right hand will come down to the floor inside the foot as my left arm reaches up, and I like to gaze up toward that left hand. Then this could be it. But if we feel like we have the mobility, we could bend this bottom elbow and come down onto the forearm. This will take us lower down. And then we rise back up smoothly back to regular low lunge. So again, it's like this. And again, I like to gaze up and lower that bottom elbow and come right back up. So this whole movement is mobilizing through the spine, but particularly that thoracic region and especially in rotation. Now, that's just the classic windmill there, but there's another add-on that we could bring in if we'd like to. And I think it's more of a fun kind of full spectrum or arcing movement. So it would look like this. We'll do the windmill as I've shown. So right hand down, maybe elbow down. But then as we come up, it doesn't stop there. We keep going. And then this right hand reaches for the back heel, or maybe a yoga block if we placed a block there. And we can arc the top arm. So now we've got some thoracic rotation and also lateral flexion or side bending. And then we can sweep all the way back down, hand down or elbow down. And we rise all the way up, kind of swimming our arms through the air into this shape. So you could see this is maybe kind of like super satisfying way to swim through the air. And it's something we can do right from low lunge. So that's my second favorite way to target thoracic spine mobility. That's the windmill with the optional extra windmill add-on. Now, my third favorite way to target T-spine mobility is Sphinx cat-cow. So this is our Sphinx pose here. Forearms down and we've got our spine and extension. There's a back bend here. So from here, I like to think of maybe like a string attached to my mid back or my mid upper back. And someone pulls back on that string and then I get to round into flexion through the thoracic spine. And then let's say there's a string attached to the front of the spine now and someone pulls forward. And so we arc back and forth like this. This is Sphinx cat-cow. And one of the reasons this is particularly effective for targeting the thoracic spine is that because my lower spine mostly and my pelvis, they're grounded, and my legs, all of this is grounded on the floor. But more of my upper mid back is free to move. So this will help me target really that rib cage spine without so much the whole rest of the spine jumping in. So it's just a way to kind of help us find a little more isolation in this area of interest. So that's Sphinx cat cow. Then, while we're on the topic of cat cow, you probably know kind of our classic cat cow. So that's usually hands and knees. And then we flex and extend the whole spine. So this is really related to kind of what we just talked about in Sphinx cat cow. So here I'm really, it's great. Cat cow is great, but I'm moving my whole spine. But the spine has multiple regions, and today our region of interest is specifically the thoracic spine. So we can find more potent mobilization and also just brain-body connection if we actually try to isolate that T-spine region and try to keep the rest of the spine pretty quiet and just mobilize the thoracic spine. So a good way to do that in a typical cat-cow position is to use a resistance band. And let's see, I'll do it this way. So I really like this loop style resistance band. For this, we just loop it around. We have it cross, wherever we are interested in especially focusing. But like right now I've got it, say, across like the bottom tips of my shoulder blades-ish. So right between the upper and mid back. So we've got the resistance band there, and then I can kind of pull on that band and anchor it underneath my hands. Now I have this tension that's pulling down on specifically my thoracic spine. I have the feedback of the band, so I can literally physically feel the band, and that helps me sense exactly where my thoracic spine is. It helps me with like proprioception. Then I can cat cow, but it'll be, a smaller movement than a whole spine cat cow. But I'm really trying to isolate just this thoracic spine region. So I can think of pushing up against the tension, against the resistance of the band, and then I can move into cow, the back bend, just with control as the band can assist me a bit. And then I push up against the band. And this is a great way just to help feel your spine in space better and to help move it in a more isolated way. So that is with a resistance band. And if you're interested in this loop style band, I like it. It's really versatile. You can do a lot with it. I'll put a link in the description here of this video for where you can find it if you'd like to check it out. So that's cat cow with the resistance band. We could maybe think of that as like a thoracic cat cow. Of course, you could move the band wherever you want on your spine. Maybe you wanted to do a lumbar cat cow as well. But for our purposes today, that's the T-spine mobility cat cow with the band. All right, so now our fifth example, my fifth favorite way to target thoracic spine mobility. This one I really like. So we come down onto forearms and knees, toes tucked under, and we lift the knees to a float. So my knees are not on the floor. This is basically, if you know bear pose, it's basically bear pose, but with the forearms down. So we lift the knees and we feel some good work through the quads and our core is working. And then it's dolphin pose from here, hips up and back, and we press our chest toward our knees. And then back to the knee, hover forearm bear, and we reach up and press the chest through the knees. So here my arms are anchored and I get to move my spine relative to my arms. My upper body stays in place. And as I lift up and press back, my shoulder blades move, my spine moves into thoracic extension. So, it moves into extension, but specifically thoracic extension here. So this is like a thoracic spine extension move. That's a really great way to try to find that mobility. Anchor the arms, lift the rest of the body back up relative to that. And there's some good load involved. There's some good core activation, and the shoulders get to work as well. So that is dolphin lift ups from a forearm bear position. And now we've got number 6 and number 7, and these will both be from in a reclined twist variation. So let's look at number 6. Again, we looked at a reclined twist in the very beginning, which was like a single leg reclined twist, and then we anchored on the block. So this reclined twist, will be a double knee reclined twist. And we just let the knees come in toward our chest, both knees. And by doing this position of the legs, it's a lot of hip flexion. This will posteriorly tilt our pelvis, and that will help stabilize the lumbar spine, the low back spine, so that it doesn't move as much, so that we can try to target more thoracic spine, upper mid back. So with the knees drawn in here, and I'm not using my arms, I'm just using my hip flexors, some core here to hold them in. Then I could think of aiming my knees toward my right upper arm. And as the knees lower, I am rotating my spine, and it's targeted toward the thoracic spine. Come to center and then rotate here. So this is like a dynamic reclined twist. We can go side to side. And again, knees pulled up and in, and then you can aim your knees toward the upper arm. So arms anchored, and then the legs lead the way through this thoracic spine, mobilizing in this reclined twist. So that's number 6. And here's number 7, our final thoracic spine mobility move. This one will use a yoga block. And for this, I'll turn this way. We lie back, and it's great to have the knees bent, feet flat here. You could have legs straight, that's also fine, but I like knees bent, feet flat. And then my arms come wide into a T. I hold the block in one hand, and then all I have to think about in my mind is place the block in my left hand. So I will take my block over, but in order to place it, I have to roll up and place the block, and then I come back out. And in doing so, I actively mobilized, I actively rotated through my thoracic spine. Now block goes into my right hand, so I have to roll up, and then I can switch it and open back up. So as you reach the block, the arm reaches, that pulls on the shoulder blade, the scapula, that pulls on the spine, and we naturally rotate up. And then we can go back out wide, past the block, and feel that rotation. You could think of like the further forward you reach the block, the more that you'll rotate here. So that's like a past the block on the back. And it is also a reclined twist. It really is, but we tend to think of reclined twists as, the upper body stays stable and then we move the lower body, and that is a reclined twist. But this past the block thing is that the lower body stays still, it doesn't move, and then we move the upper body relative to the lower body. Still a reclined twist, but a different type, and moving like a different part of the body relative to the other. So that is my 7th favorite thoracic spine mobility move. I hope you appreciated this full selection. And if you appreciated this content, subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date on all of the content that I share.